This right here is the brand new LEGO Speed Champions 2023 McLaren F1 Formula car. And in today's video, we're going to unbox it, build it, and do an in-depth review of this LEGO Speed Champions set. So without further ado, let's jump into this video right away. And like always, before we do get into this video, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and most importantly, leave a comment down below. So with that being said, let's jump into it and talk about the set. So this set is the 2023 McLaren Formula 1 race car. It is set number 76919 and it's part of the Speed Champion / Formula 1 LEGO set. Its target age is for ages 9 and up, and its release date was earlier this year on March 1st, 2024, and has a total of 245 pieces. It retails for $34.99 Canadian, $24.99 USD or Euro, and $20.99 British pounds. It has a price per brick of about 14 cents, which is on par with the average price for Speed Champion sets. So with all that being said, let's jump into this build right away. So since this set's only got about 245 pieces, it ended up taking me about 50 minutes to complete, which is on par with typical Speed Champion sets. When you first unbox this LEGO set, it will contain 3 numbered bags, a sticker sheet that contains 32 stickers, and 1 booklet that contains 80 pages. After building the set, I also noticed that it did contain an additional 14 printed pieces, and I ended up having about an extra 19-ish pieces at the end of the build. This build was also very similar to typical Speed Champion sets. So in bag 1, you kind of build the base of the car. Bag 2 is I was working more on the sides of the Formula 1 car, and then bag 3 is just kind of your final touches, stickers. One thing to note that I've never done before in any other LEGO set build is that this is the first LEGO set where I put a sticker on a printed piece, but we'll jump into that into more detail later on in this video. So, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is the McLaren Formula 1 racing car. Now, I'm not a Formula 1 expert, so a lot of this stuff is just basic research, but you're more than welcome to go do your own research to learn more about these cars. But I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a rundown about what this type of car is and what you normally see in the real world. McLaren Mercedes races in the Formula 1 Racing League, which is the highest class of international racing for open-wheel, single-seater Formula 1 racing cars. So there are lower leagues or development leagues, which you can read more about on the F1 website, which is like basically F2, F3, and I think F1 Academy, if I'm not mistaken. But from my understanding, it's similar to like in sports. So I'm a big hockey player. So if you watch like the NHL, you'd have the farm system of like the American Hockey League and then their farm system, which is like ECHL. So it's kind of a similar idea, but just with Formula 1. So McLaren Mercedes is actually the name of the constructor. And last year in 2023, they actually ended up finishing in 4th place overall with 302 points. Now for McLaren Mercedes, in this case, the 2023 drivers were Lando Norris, who actually ended up finishing in 6th place from Great Britain. And then also Oscar Piastri, who finished in 9th place last year, who is from Australia. Now, the cool thing about the 2024 season is that both of those racers are still with McLaren Mercedes. So now that we've actually talked a little bit about background information and where this set actually comes from, let's actually go ahead and dive right into the in-depth review of the 2023 McLaren Formula 1 racing car. Alright, so this set itself does only come with 1 minifigure, which is a little bit of a disappointment because in F1, you always end up having like 2 drivers that go with it. Now, I understand that you're technically only buying 1 car, but it would have been cool to see if they actually did include both of the drivers in this case, but I can also understand why. The one thing I wasn't a fan about what this LEGO minifigure was is I just felt like it lacked a little bit of accuracy when it came to the actual uniforms that McLaren wears. So I did actually end up looking this up online, but they never actually wear gray. They always wear like white and orange or black and orange. So I just felt like that was a little detail that was missed by the LEGO company. And it's one of those things that it wouldn't have been very difficult to just make white jumpsuit rather than a gray jumpsuit. The other thing I don't like about the gray jumpsuit is I find you can't really see the McLaren logo very well on the back end. So it's just little modifications like that that I feel like could have easily been fixed and Miller made this a little bit more accurate. But other than that, it is still a cool minifigure. It's a pretty basic minifigure and it kind of looks really similar to a lot of the other Speed Champion minifigures that you see in different sets. But with all that though, I am happy that they did add a little bit of a stamp printing on the helmet itself. It's rare that you see those, and I'm glad they didn't just use a normal helmet in this case. So the first thing I will say when you do look at the set is the box artwork. I love the fact that they actually use a snippet from a racetrack. I find that they actually did a really good job at making the F1 McLaren vehicles stand out in the box. And at least for me, it was eye-catching. That was one of the reasons why I did buy the set. The one thing that I absolutely loved about this set, and this is something that I think is my favorite highlight right now, is the fact that they actually use the advertisements on the LEGO vehicles. Some of the old kind of like old Ferrari cars from back in the early 2000s, they were pretty basic models. They didn't really have any advertisement on it. What I like about building Lego sets is looking at the accuracy of what it is in real life. Like the one thing I really liked the most was the fact that they got all the different sponsorships such as like DeWalt and Google Chrome to actually be on this Lego set. And to me, I feel like that is the best thing that they could have done, especially from a design perspective, because it is visually very accurate to what you would see, especially since this is already a scaled down model. Another thing I did notice too is like all speed champion sets is that the instruction clarity is really the same. The one thing that I thought was really cool, and the reason I'm bringing up the instructions, is what I mentioned earlier on this video. This is the first set I've ever built where they gave you a printed piece, but then you actually ended up sticking on like the Google Chrome sign on the back end of the pieces. So it was kind of interesting. I've never done that before because they had one of the advertisements already printed on the piece, but then you would throw the Google Chrome sticker on top of it. And I wasn't even mad about that. I was just kind of intrigued that that was like a cool idea. You don't really see that very often. So definitely a big fan of that. I wonder if that's maybe they had that the Google Chrome advertisement came in last minute and they didn't have time to make those printed pieces, so they just ended up using a sticker on it. But either way, really good add-on. It was something that I thought was really cool in the end. When it comes to the build experience though, the one thing I did notice is that it's a typical speed champion set, so you're just basically building out the base. The one thing I did like about this one is that I felt like it really utilized all of the space. I actually do like the fact on the build that you can see the front axles of the speed champion car itself. I find in some older builds they kind of tuck it into like wheel wells in this case. So the one thing I did like the fact is that they actually include the axles. It would have been cool, but I'm pretty sure they have this in the Technic set where you can actually, when you turn the steering wheel, turn the axle. But I understand that there's kind of limited parts in this case and you can only have so much space. But I'm pretty sure in the Mercedes Technic set you can actually like turn all the axles kind of like you are racing the car. Three other highlights that I did notice that I actually was a fan of. I really like the way that we built the engine. I like the fact that we ended up using like window frames, and then that's how you ended up building out the engine to make it look kind of engine-like. I don't know how else to describe that. The other thing I really liked as well was actually the use of the halo. I like the fact that we used like a bend pipe Technic piece, which was pretty stiff, which kind of reminds you of what a halo would be like on a real car, and then actually just being able to wrap that around the front. I thought it was a really good idea, and I was a big fan of that because it actually does create the accuracy to a halo you would see the driver actually use. And then finally, I will just add on one more thing. I love the fact that we ended up using like a ski piece to kind of add on to the tail wing on the back end. Definitely thought that was a really cool touch up. Again, this build was fun. Like it was definitely one of those like pieces that kind of surprised me on how to actually build it. Really brought out a new way of building speed champions, which definitely got me very excited. And then finally, other than that, just from a durability perspective, you can definitely play this set. This is definitely something that like can be used. Like all speed champion sets is pretty durable. I didn't really have any issues just shaking it around. Pieces don't really fall off. Other than that, and then from a design accuracy and then creativity perspective, like I said before, a lot of really cool designs. I like the mixture of using some Technic elements as well as just being able to use different pieces that you would never really think about from a car perspective. Like I was saying, the windowsill, the window frames to build the engine. Definitely little pieces like that stand out in creativity. And I also think overall, when it comes to the advertisements and then how they built this set itself, I thought it was very accurate, and I was actually extremely happy with building this set overall. So overall, I ended up giving this set a rating of 50 out of 60, which is about an 83% on the AJL Bricks overall rating chart. So with all that being said though, let's just jump right into the last part of this in-depth review, which is the verdict. So before we do go on to end this video, if this is your first time checking out one of my in-depth reviews and you did enjoy this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Most importantly, you can check out the playlist that I'll link below where you can check out all my other different in-depth reviews for some of my favorite Lego sets that have been released to date. So like I was saying, if this is the first time you checked out one of my in-depth review videos and you're curious what is the verdict, well, this is what it is. This is where I ask myself these same final 3 questions about each set that I ended up reviewing. So number 1 is, what is my favorite part about this set? My favorite part about this set is probably the aesthetics around it. I really like the fact that they included all of the advertisements. I really like that they created an F1 car that looks like the F1 cars I would watch on TV. Now, I'm not necessarily an avid F1 racer fan. Like, I don't watch every single weekend Grand Prix, wherever it may end up being. But when I do watch them, I do go into appreciate the work and then the skill that is required for F1 drivers. So for me, when I am able to watch those live events and then be able to build a Lego set that looks just like those vehicles, it does make me a lot happier and makes me feel like I'm building something that is actually real in a certain way because of its accuracy in representation from an aesthetics perspective. What would I change about this set? It's kind of like I mentioned before. I really like how the set was built. I just felt like the minifigures, I would have been nice that they had 2 minifigures, or if they just made the minifigures as accurate accurate as they are to the McLaren drivers themselves. I do feel like the minifigure they gave us was more of like a pit crew minifigure rather than the racer, even though they advertise him as the racer. That's just me being picky, especially looking it up online. I find like their white or orange like jumpsuits are so cool, and I'm just blown away that Lego didn't want to do that, because that would have been honestly perfect to have like an orange driver jumpsuit. I think that'd be awesome. And then finally, is this set worth buying in 2024? I know that the Speed Champion sets have increased in retail price by about $5 or so, at least from a Canadian perspective, because I think back in 2022 or 2021 they're only about like $25 to $30. I think now they're about $30 to $35. I would say, like, I don't think it's a bad difference. I do think if you are an avid F1 fan, like, and you don't want to spend the hundreds of dollars on the Technic sets, definitely get this set. This is something that is so much fun. And even if you're not an avid F1 fan and you just like race cars, or you just want to build something that's fun that you can even display or maybe even play with, I would definitely get this set. This is kind of a cool set that I really enjoy. And honestly, if Lego comes out with more F1 Speed Champions, I'm gonna probably end up buying them, because I actually genuinely enjoy this and I think it's a lot of fun to build. Like I said before, it only took me about 45 minutes. I think I ended up doing it actually at the end of one of my work days. So it was kind of one of those things where I just sat down, built it in an evening, and it was so much fun to do. So overall, I would definitely say this is definitely a set I would definitely want to buy in 2024. So yeah, that's pretty much it about this set. Honestly, like, I mean, I have to say this is definitely one of the cool race cars that I generally did enjoy the most building. I don't normally build race cars. I know I've kind of been slowly getting into it, especially with building that Porsche car. That was another one that I really enjoyed, but definitely building this McLaren car was a lot of fun. A really big fan of it. And yeah, if you did go on to enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let me know down below in the comments if you guys actually enjoyed this in-depth review of the 2023 McLaren F1 race car. And most importantly, if you guys want to see me do any other in-depth reviews, let me know down below in the comments and I'll try to see if we can make something happen at least. And yeah, with all that being said though, if you did go on to enjoy this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next video.